Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Welcome everybody to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here, and I have an awesome guest here today for you. If you're new to the Heal Your Hunger Show, welcome, and make sure you pop over to the Facebook group, which is Heal Your Hunger, and it's End Emotional Eating. So if you want support and want to be a part of that wonderful tribe, it's the Heal Your Hunger tribe, and we'd love to have you join us. So my guest today is just a beautiful soul. She is awesome and beautiful on the inside and the out. Veronique, so glad to have you here. I'm going to say hello to you before I rave about you.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah. So Dr. V is the founder of Breast Cancer Conqueror and the creator of the 7 Essentials System, which is a step-by-step educational program with the goal of preventing dis-ease and creating naturally vibrant health. Her signature process is empowering thousands of women in 40 countries around the world. That is super awesome, Dr. V. I'm so happy that you're here.
Well, thanks for sharing my message of hope, Tricia. And I know, the work that you're doing is just so needed and my heart, because I was there a long time ago, so I understand, the emotional eating aspect of our health. So.
Okay. Well, you mean you were an emotional eater?
Oh, definitely. For many, many years.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. I shouldn't sound surprised. I personally think everybody in the world is an emotional eater. So I'm just happy when somebody admits it, so that's great. So, and for those who are listening and not watching, Dr. V is like she just screams health. She's just beautiful and vibrant and just, you wouldn't know she was an emotional eater. But of course, for many of us, it isn't obvious. But let's go ahead. I'd love to jump in and really hear your story, because you have obviously personal experience with breast cancer.
Mm-hmm. I have. So, I'll give you the shortened version. So basically, I'm I was in practice as a bioenergetic chiropractor, and my father had pancreatic cancer way back in 1983. And that really opened up the cancer door for me, because it made me realize that, when it came to cancer, traditional medicine did not have much to offer. And when my dad, was given the death sentence and told that he was going to die in 6 weeks, I just started diving into research. Like 1983, no internet, so I had to go to the library and call some cancer clinics, which were few and far between back then. And realized that there were so many things that could have been done for him. But, for him, it was too late. So I took that grief and that fire in my soul and started sharing that with my patients in my practice, and started seeing people were reversing autoimmune issues, rheumatoid arthritis, MS, cancer, you name it. And it's just because they were applying the principles of, taking responsibility for their health and changing their lifestyle and, doing all the good things they needed to do for themselves. So fast forward, I've been in practice about 25 years, and I'm in the shower and I'm doing my weekly, breast self-exam, and bam, felt that lump in my left breast that changed the course of my life forever. I was Dr. V, and I was helping all these sick people get well, and yet here I was facing a breast cancer journey. And so that really, changed life for me forever. And I had to figure out, what was I missing? What were the pieces of the puzzle that I was missing? Because, how could somebody like me get sick? I was eating organic before organic was in style. I was exercising, care, breastfed my children, had home births. I thought I was doing everything right. But, I found out as I went down that rabbit hole of research and soul searching, that there were a lot of things that I was missing. And so that led me to create the 7 Essential System, because I was frustrated, I was confused, I was, overwhelmed sometimes by all the information and the things to do. So if I was feeling that way, how much more so would the average woman feel that way? And so that's what, really spurred me to create the 7 Essential System. So it's a step-by-step guide that people can follow if they just want to prevent any dis-ease in their body, or if they're on a healing journey of some sort. It just doesn't have to be cancer. It can be any disease process in the body.
Yeah, that's amazing. It must have been, I think that a lot of emotional eaters actually are eating healthy and doing the right things. They tend to be very health conscious. So that must have been really hard for you, being, in the forefront of health, and then to have cancer enter your life. It
was a big wake-up call. It really, it was a huge gift, when I recognized that I had to ask myself, what is the gift here? What am I learning? What is my body trying to tell me? And I really did a lot of healing, a tremendous amount of healing. And, if we fast forward up to 2015, the same thing happened to me again. Where I was in the shower and bam, felt that lump again, same spot. And it was, this time it was really earth shattering, because I was now the breast cancer conqueror, right? Okay. I was the one who was leading women and teaching them how to reverse cancer because of my experience back in 2004. And so that definitely brought me a lot of shame and guilt, and felt like I had to hide. How can I be the conqueror when, I'm dealing with breast cancer again?
Wow.
So the last 3 years were very, very intense for me. I've kind of come out of the closet now. I've shared with my community, and I'll be, when I speak on stages, I'm sharing it with the audience as well. But it's, I'd learned so much. It was one of those situations again where, I was nose to the grindstone. I was coaching women, 5 days a week from sun up to sundown, and I was just taking in all that energy. I wasn't applying the things that I needed to do for myself. And, it had a lot more stuff to let go of, those layers of emotional, healing that needed to be, other physical issues that I didn't address. I just kept pushing it back. And unfortunately for, caregivers and people like you and I who are taking care of others, sometimes we make that mistake of putting ourselves in the back burner when we really cannot do that.
So true. Emotional eaters are definitely caretakers, and they're in the front of the line always in terms of caring for other people's needs. And that is such an important lesson to learn. It's just we can't give without filling our own, coffers with good resources to draw on. So that must have been incredible. And also just, like you talked about, obviously, the immediate sense of shame and something like, how could this happen to me? And like, I'm not supposed to. I'm the one who's, leading this front of conquering breast cancer. So just what an incredibly emotional process that must have been for you.
It was very tough, because at the same time I was still, presenting and just being the leader, for my community and cheering women on. And at the same time, I was in the back just kind of doing my, my own healing. But I just, I was able to really find balance, and I was able to really recognize that I knew my system worked. I knew what I had to do, and I just had to, just go back to the drawing board and do the work and start, self-care and self-nurturing and take care of myself. And when I feel my stress level rise, then I just pull back. And it's been a really great thing in the end, because I feel better than I did when I was in my 20s. So
yeah, that's incredible, and such an important lesson, I think, too, on we don't ever stop growing and learning and healing. I mean, for me, I'm not cured. Like, there's always more that I can be doing, and it's just a grow, I'm on the path, I'm on the path, doing the deal, doing what I teach. But I can always go deeper. And I think that's true. I mean, you can't really max out self-growth, there's always more we can do. And, it's just sometimes we get those, urgings in some, unwanted form. But if we learn the lesson from it, which you have, obviously you can turn it around and put it to good use and then share with others. I'm sure lots of your clients feel comforted by the fact that they know you while you're going through this, and that makes it all the more real and all the more pertinent for them to know that you're going through it and you're really linking arms with them.
Yeah. And when I shared it at my retreat a few weeks ago, there were women there, and they were just, it really warmed my heart how loving and how encouraging they were. And as far as all my tests and everything, everything is great. Everything's back to normal, so to speak. But it really, I think it showed them that no matter how well you think you are and how well you know things, that you have to, stay on the journey, because life happens, and, you just have to keep a pulse on your health. And, especially with your audience as well, when the emotions start getting unsettled, and it's easy to go back to those patterns of comfort, right? But if, asking themselves, what is my body trying to tell me right now? And you'd be surprised at the answers that you may get. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think it's absolutely true that it's, it is a daily, this is a daily walk. It's every single day we have to do this thing, or else we revert. It's like you're either going forward or you're going backwards. There's no treading water, standing still, and we get, our health can remind us of that. There's no question about it. So talk to me about your 7 essential system, because I have a feeling, some aspects of it have a lot to do with, very similar to the system that I use to help people overcome emotional eating.
Yeah, absolutely. So number 1 is let food be your medicine. And so that's a no-brainer for your audience. Yeah. And it really comes down to a choice. As I tell my clients, you either feed your body or feed the cancer. And so, it really comes down to a simple choice that you can make. Number 2 is to reduce your toxic exposure. Look at what you have in your environment, as far as your home. Look at your exposure to EMFs. Make sure your computer is hardwired instead of being surrounded by Wi-Fi all day. Unplug your router at night. You don't need it at night. Look at what you put on your skin, because everything that goes on your skin is absorbed into the body. So just, learn to reduce your toxic exposure. Number 3 is balancing your energy. We're 1/1000th physical matter. The rest is all energy. So balancing your nerve system with chiropractic care or acupuncture and exercise and proper sleep. Balancing your hormones is so important, especially for women, because unfortunately, women have been told that our hormones are the root cause of cancer, and that's not true. Our hormones do not cause cancer. It's all the chemical estrogens that we're exposed to. Number 4 is healing the emotional wounds, and that's often the most difficult one, because as women, we're really good taking care of everybody else and doing stuff. But it's hard for us to learn to self-nurture and care for ourselves and forgive ourselves and love ourselves. So just really spending a lot of time in learning to heal those emotions. Number 5 is biological dentistry, because what you have in your mouth and in your teeth is going to affect your gut health. It's going to affect your brain health. Amalgams are mercury, and mercury is very toxic. Root canals are dead entities in your body that are, no matter how aseptic they try to make it, it's going to give off a lot of anaerobic bacteria and toxins, suppress your immune system. So work with a biological dentist. Number 6 is all about all the supplements and the nutrients, the herbs, the spices that have been shown to kill cancer naturally and to boost the immune system. So, I often refer to it as an herbal chemotherapy because that's what it does. It targets cancer cells and not your healthy cells. And then lastly is, keeping a pulse on your health with very early detection with things like thermography, which, reads the infrared heat off of your body instead of using radiation compression with a mammogram, learning how to do a proper self-breast exam, blood tests. There's all kinds of blood tests used outside of traditional medicine. They're calling them liquid biopsies, where they can literally find out if you have cancer just by a blood draw and looking at certain proteins in the blood. So, you can find out if you have cancer years ahead of what you will see on a scan or on an x-ray, because it takes 5 to 8 years for that to show up. So that's the 7 essentials. And if you follow that, you have a pretty good chances of being vibrantly healthy for a long time.
That's beautiful. So in terms of the thermometer, will you talk more about that? Because I have not actually gotten yet a breast cancer not breast cancer, a mammogram, because I have the teeniest boobs on the planet. I can't even figure out how they could do one on me, but whatever. I just haven't done it, and I loved the idea that I could do something else, detection wise besides that. Yes.
So, well, first of all, I'm not going to tell your audience not to get a mammogram legally. However, I've never had a mammogram. But when you think about what a mammogram is, it's radiation. It's low-dose ionizing, repetitive radiation that causes DNA damage and mutation. And then you add compression. So what if you have a teeny tiny little, 2 or 3 millimeter little cancer that's starting to form, and then you add that radiation and...
It's okay. We can edit that out. Also, just while we're stopping, your coffee cup, when you set it down, makes a noise.
Makes a lot of noise.
Yeah,
okay.
Because your microphone's so, sensitive.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I normally
we
do
can
that.
Edit it. It's okay.
Okay. I'll sit on the phone so it doesn't beep. Okay. All right. So where do you want me to start with?
The thermometer. You were saying you have a little dot of cancer, and then you're like, think about it. And then you could do that.
Okay. So think about it. If you have a teeny tiny little breast cancer tumor that's developing, if it's just a few millimeters, and then you add compression and radiation, I mean, what is that going to do to that? It can easily, break that tumor and spill a bunch of cancer cells, floating into your system. And there was a 25-year Canadian study done on 90,000 women, and they looked at the difference between mammography and breast self-exams, and they found, first of all, that mammography did not reduce breast cancer mortality rate, not even by 1%, and that a breast self-exam was just as effective in finding a lump as a mammogram. So the key is to really learn how to do a proper breast self-exam, which one of the things that we're getting ready to launch is something called My Breast Friend, which is a silicone breast model that has little tumors in it at various depths and sizes. And it teaches you how to detect and what normal is and what normal is not. It's based on the Mammacare method, which has been used for 30 years to train clinicians all around the world on how to do breast exams. So that's coming out. So stay tuned for My Breast Friend.
I love that name. That's super cool.
Yeah, we're very excited about that. Ultrasound is something that you can do, which, there's no radiation, and somebody who's very small-chested could easily do that. Mm-hmm. But thermography basically reads the infrared heat coming off your body. So if there's increased blood flow to an area in your breast, because tumors will create their own blood flow, right? That's called, angiogenesis. Then it'll show up. You can literally see the red vein remains feeding the tumor. Or if there's just an estrogen dominance in the body, then the breast tissue may be very, red and hot. So it gives you a good visual picture of what's going on physiologically in the body. And it's not just for the breast, but you can do it for your whole body, your thyroid, your back, your neck, all of that. So it's a great, and it's a great tool to have. And there's no radiation, no compression, no pain. And you get a baseline. 3 months later, you get a recheck. And then if all is well, then you just go every year. That's
great. And is that something that you have to do through a holistic doctor, or is that something that is covered by insurance?
Some insurances, about 50% of insurances do cover. If you go to the website called thermologyonline.org, thermologyonline.org, you can find clinicians that are certified, and they're all over the world. And some doctors, some of these clinicians go to doctors' offices and just set up for, the day, kind of a mobile service. So it's not difficult to find thermography nowadays. So definitely get that checked out.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So there are a lot of myths around breast cancer, and it makes people really, kind of afraid. It's just this looming, it's sort of like a cloud over women's heads. And I guess it's mostly women who get breast cancer. I know there are men as well, right? Don't some men get breast cancer? Yeah. Okay.
400 men a year die of breast cancer.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some of those myths that people have, and, I'm sure you can debunk them pretty easily.
Well, the biggest one I like to talk about is the one that our hormones cause cancer. Most women, when they're diagnosed with breast cancer, they're told that it's, estrogen positive or progesterone positive. And right away, the doctors want to put them on anti-hormone drugs, either to, block receptor sites or to stop the production of hormones. But when you think about that and reason on it, if our hormones cause cancer, then every 20-year-old on the planet would have cancer, right? It's not our hormones. We need our hormones for our brain health, for our heart health, for our bone health, everything. We need our hormones. So what is causing that excess of estrogen in the body? Well, two things. You look at the environment. So there's something called, chemical estrogens or xenoestrogens. So everything from plastics, pesticides, herbicides, aluminum from antiperspirants. Aluminum is a metalloestrogen. These things will mimic and stimulate excess of estrogen in the body. Then, if your liver's congested or you don't metabolize these estrogens properly, guess what? Then you do have the recirculation of aggressive estrogens. So that's the problem. It's not your hormones, but it's what you're exposed to and how your body is metabolizing or breaking it down. So don't be afraid of your hormones. You need your hormones for your immune health to really beat cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. I like that you made that distinction, and it's the toxic overload. That's really what we're talking about.
Yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
It does to me. I mean, we need our hormones.
Yeah.
It's part of our makeup.
Yeah. What's another one?
Another one would be, let's see, so food, for example. Often if women are told that they have an estrogen positive cancer, the doctor will tell them, don't eat anything that has estrogen in it. So things like flax or fermented soy or, phytoestrogens. But food is food, and food is very beneficial. And these plant estrogens actually help to get rid of those excessive estrogens in the body, and they actually block the estrogen receptor sites. So they're very protective and very beneficial. So there was a study done at the University of Toronto a few years ago. Women were getting ready to have mastectomies and lumpectomies. So 30 days prior to the surgery, they gave them a muffin with 5 teaspoons of ground flax. After the surgery, they measured and they were to eat that muffin every day. after the surgery, when they measured the markers, the tumor markers and the size of the tumors shrunk anywhere from 30 to 70% just from 5 teaspoons of ground flax every day.
Wow, that's incredible.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Incredible. So something as simple as that can really help you with your, your methylation, your metabolism of estrogen. Another myth that I think we should talk about is the BRCA gene. We hear women, oh, well, I'm BRCA gene positive, and Angelina Jolie. I mean, she's the prime Hollywood example, right? Mastectomy because she was BRCA gene positive. And, I don't judge her. I mean, she saw her mom die a very horrible death with cancer as a result of traditional treatments. So sure, there was a lot of fear in her decision making. However, we now know that our genes and our DNA is not our destiny, right? We know that we can change our gene expression, and less than 5% of BRCA genes are actually familial or hereditary. And even with those, with your lifestyle, with your food choices, with everything that you can do for your body, it does not mean that trigger is going to be pulled. You may have a genetic defect, but it doesn't mean you're going to end up with breast cancer. And unfortunately, because of what she did, I mean, so many women just went and started cutting off their breasts because, they think that cutting off my breast is going to prevent cancer. No, it doesn't. That's just the tip of the iceberg. You've got to get to the root cause. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm so glad you're saying that, because unfortunately, the world we live in, if a celebrity does it, it must be right.
Right.
Huh. Wow, that's really incredible. So, breast cancer, can it be cured?
Well, everybody's running for the cure, right? It's October 1st, the pink movement, right? Let's run for the cure. Well, there is a cure, and the cure is what we just talked about. Cancer is just a symptom. It's not the cause. And you have to look at what has allowed the cancer to develop in my body. It's not something that just happens to you. It's a process. And so you have a large measure of control on how you can reverse the cancer. I mean, I'm living proof of that. Thousands of women that we've worked with, are living proof of that. Cancer can be reversed. That being said, you have to really keep a pulse on your health. I do have genetic SNPs that give me that predisposition to easily develop breast cancer and diabetes and cardiovascular disease. However, I know that, and so I modify my diet, I modify my lifestyle, and I know to stay on top of things so that it doesn't creep up on me again.
Yeah, that's incredible. There's so many negative effects from emotional eating. I mean, so many. Obviously, gaining weight is probably the number one, most tangible effect. That's a misery-making one. And there are so many others. The isolation of emotional eating, the shame, the humiliation, it costs more money because you're paying for all these binge foods and you're paying for clothes, in different sizes. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I think the one that definitely needs to be, pointed out, and I probably don't talk about it enough, is your health. When you're eating crap, nobody binges on salads, or they rarely do. We're binging on Doritos and ice cream and sugar, and all these chemicals that are in the fast foods, the binge foods people are eating. And, that is just, completely harmful to our health, and it does create disease to be ingesting so many chemicals and so much unhealthy food. So not to mention, there's all kinds of diseases that stem from binging on bad foods. So cancer certainly is at the one of the ones at the top of the list. So I'm so glad we're talking about this, because I don't think anybody could do enough, I don't think, in terms of preventing it and just making sure we're living a healthy lifestyle. But I love that you go into the emotional healing stuff too, because like I'm always talking about how the symptom is not the problem. The symptom is a symptom of the problem, and the problem runs so much deeper. And it is that emotional baggage that we're carrying around, the fear, the resentment, the anger, the longing that we're not paying attention to. I mean, so many things that need to be healed in order to be healthy on the inside and out.
That little girl inside of us that needs that nurturing and that love that, we didn't get as we were growing up for whatever reason. You have to look at the past, and sometimes people don't like doing that because, that's the past. But what they don't realize is that your subconscious mind from the age of conception to 5 years old is on the theta frequency. That's a subconscious sponge. So everything you heard, everything you were taught is your program running on. So you can change that software programming by, doing the work. And there's so many great tools that we have available to us now as far as energy psychology, things like EFT or EMDR, and really changing that programming that we have that keeps us stuck in a rut sometimes.
So true. Yeah. And just shifting the mindset that it's not selfish to be self-caring. If we don't help ourselves, if we don't care for ourselves and our bodies, nobody's going to get the best of us, And so the best thing we can do for others is to take care of ourselves first and put our, the obvious analogy is putting our oxygen mask on first, like when on the airplane. So
yeah.
Well, this is great. It's been a great conversation, Veronique. Thank you so much for bringing this, to the Heal Your Hunger show and just bringing it to so many people around the world the way that you do. I know you work really hard to get your message out there of hope and healing and prevention. And I just love what you're doing, and I'm so honored to have you here.
Thanks so much for having me, and you're a great hostess, and I appreciate so much what you're doing for your community as well.
Thank you. I have one parting question for you, which I ask all my guests, and that is, what is your deepest hunger?
Oh, my deepest hunger. The first thing that popped into my mind when you said that was to be loved and nurtured.
I love that. And you're doing that. You're doing that for yourself, and and the emotional work we do on ourselves makes it easier for other people to love and nurture us too.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's such a pleasure. And do you want to talk real quick about the special gift you have for people listening?
Yes. What is it?
So I have here the free gift that I have here is the book, the breastcancerconqueror.com/free book.
Okay, so it's the book, Heal Breast Cancer Naturally, 7 Essential Steps to Beating Cancer. And it's, whether you have cancer or not, it relates to just health in general. But yes, it's a free download that you can get. Okay, good. And I'm going to put that link in the show notes for people as well. So good to have you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Tricia. Take care.
If you enjoyed this show and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.